周一長談今日繼續，我哋請到省議會嘅秘書，專門管我哋酒類改革嘅。佢喺前一排已經提出咗73項改革，大家都相當受歡迎，但係亦都有好多人提出唔同嘅質疑。所以我今日咧繼續請問John Yap 同我哋傾下呢方面嘅新嘅規定。You have 73 recommendations, and we just discussed one, which is the most popular one is grocery, the getting wine and beer in grocery stores. What are the 72 other new regulations that concerns the consumers?
Well, there's a number of them that have to do with the enjoyment of liquor by citizens. So, for example, in the regulations that are in place, if you go into a restaurant, there's an expectation you have to order food, right? With what's called a food primary license. So one of the recommendations is that we recognize that people's lifestyles have changed, in these times, and that the traditional going to a restaurant and having a full meal maybe is different for a lot of people in our society. And there are times when people may not want to have food at certain hours and may want to have the opportunity to enjoy a glass of wine or beer.
Yeah, while you're waiting for your friend,
without having to order food. Yes.
Yeah.
So one of the recommendations which will be acted on is to allow people to go to a food primary license establishment or restaurant and be able to order a beverage without having to order food. So
I see.
That's one example. Another one, on the flip side, for a liquor primary or, for example, a pub licensed establishment, there's the old regulation had a restriction of no minors. You couldn't have anyone under 19 years of age, even if accompanied by parents, to come. Maybe a pub has a nice brunch and a family wants to go there for a meal. Not allowed. So one of the recommendations is to allow families to dine together in a liquor primary license establishment, for example, a pub that has meals, and allow the children to be there, or those under 19 to be there until a certain hour. And this is what we heard from a lot of British Columbians in the review, that in other parts of the world, if you travel to other parts of in Europe, for example, there's no age restriction. You see families together at
well, when the family is having a family dinner, I think it's even at home, the parents will be drinking wine and the kids will be drinking pubs. I think in general, all these new regulations basically is catching up.
Well, we said from the very beginning that, and the Premier said this as well, that we want to make some common sense updates to the regulations governing liquor.
But catching up, one thing, I think a lot of the immigrants were really surprised that Canada, as one country, that when you buy the BC wineries wine, you cannot bring it across the border. And if you go to Ontario and you find some beautiful Ontario wine, you can buy it, but you have to drink it there. You cannot bring it across the border. That was something that we really was puzzled. And I know that I'll let you, I'm not going to steal your thunder. Let us know what's the new regulation.
Well, this is an issue that our government, our Premier, is really advocating, and that is this, that there should be more free movement between provinces. We are one country after all. And yes, each province has its own economic focus, and in BC we have a great wine industry. There's a wine industry in Ontario. There's one in Quebec as well. These are the primary regions in Canada: BC, Ontario, Quebec. And our Premier, our government, is suggesting that there be more freedom of movement between provinces. So BC has stepped up and said, if you want to, as a British Columbian, approach a Ontario winery and say, I'd like to order some wine, that winery can ship it to the British Columbian and not have to pay the Ontario tax. We hope that the province of Ontario will reciprocate, and so far we're waiting for them to agree to it. We have said we would.
Because although we welcome this change, but at the same time there are also questions about why are we so generous if we are not reciprocal.
I get it. People might say that, but we are very confident in our great wine industry. We have a great wine industry and an emerging craft beer industry, and we want to provide the opportunity for Canadians to buy our product and for British Columbians to enjoy products from other parts of Canada. And I think this shows leadership. We're saying, hey, we're prepared to open our borders, and let's see that as well in other parts of Canada, Ontario and Quebec in particular. So we're hopeful that one day, BC, you might be able to see that a Ontario person can order some wine and not have to and be able to receive the wine, and the same thing for British Columbian, that we can order wine from Ontario.
There was a lot of this kind of very old-aged regulations and law that to new immigrants who looks at Canada as one country, one government, is really puzzled. And I hope this is at the same time we are moving towards a good direction. But now you mentioned something about the health issues and also the public concerns. Your critics, particularly the small businesses who sells wine, one of their criticism is that by doing so you are privatizing the whole industry. That's number one. And second is you have your lack of consultants for health issues for minors. How would you respond to these 2 points?
Well, when I started the consultation, the very first people that we met were members of the medical and the addictions research community. I still remember very clearly our first meeting was with the academics from UVic who are experts at addictions research, and they gave us their views and their advice. And we also met with the chief medical officers for health regions in Victoria and in Greater Vancouver to receive their very important input. And some of my recommendations reflect their input. For example, one of the greatest determinants of excessive alcohol consumption is price. Right? If liquor, the nature of liquor as a product is if it is too cheap, that there will be overconsumption. The research shows that. So one of the recommendations is that there be a minimum price. I know people appreciate good prices for their liquor products, but the balance that we have to achieve requires that we have some minimum pricing, and the recommendation is that that minimum price should be tied to the level of alcohol in a drink. Now, one of the recommendations, as you know, is that establishments, restaurants can offer time-limited specials on their pricing on their drinks, so happy hour.
Happy hours, yes.
So we recommended that, but at the same time, to balance the health and social impact, we're saying we can have happy hour, but there's a minimum pricing that the happy hour price cannot go below. And the feedback from the health and the public safety advocates was that that's important to do. And even the people that are in the business of pubs and restaurants, they don't want to go into a price slashing and a happy hour that doesn't make any sense and is also not healthy for British Columbians.
And we all know that for a wonderful bottle of wine, people paid excessive price just to they collect it. So I think that is something good, but at the same time, it's also you have to protect the consumers' rights. So with this, what are the specific the policies? Because I know your job is to make sure that all these recommendations are balanced, and I think you did a good job. But at the same time, as a government, what is the Ministry of Health and also Ministry of Education towards the minor school teachers. Was there a collaboration or the collaborated efforts in promoting and balancing the whole policy?
Very, very much so. We had discussions with colleagues in government, including the Minister of Health, to receive their key issues. And in regards to
were they receptive with this, because it gets them a little more?
We have a good discussion, and the recommendations have been discussed with all members of government, and I would say that there is a good consensus that these recommendations are going to move British Columbia forward in a balanced way to help producers, to help industry, to help those in the hospitality industry, tourism, and also to reflect the lifestyles of British Columbians in a balanced way that recognizes public safety and health concerns.
I know the biggest the critics of this is the small businesses. How do you address their concern that this new policy would take away their business and kill that industry?
Well, I think, well, first of all, I would say that we received input from all sectors of the business community, whether it was small businesses, chambers of commerce, individual business people, and the report includes recommendations that I believe will take a balanced approach. It is very important for our province to support the business community. Our government believes in free enterprise and in a thriving private sector, and small business is very important. So whether it's a small business in the hospitality, the restaurant business, whether it's a private liquor store, the recommendations we've made include recommendations that will respect the investment made by those in the private sector.
I think any new regulations will of course face some challenge, but it's also a process of evolution and not just a decision. So we look forward to see what is going to happen, and I think your job is not done yet. I think you will be receiving a lot of feedbacks and tune up and fine tune all the policies.
I expect to, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. 今日我哋講嘅就係 BC 省劃時代嘅一個新嘅改革，就係可以喺 grocery store 個書可以買到 wine and beer， 同埋以後 happy hour 啊等等嘅，都增加咗好多方便。但係咧，我哋亦都希望政府方面能夠喺照顧兒童同埋未成年嘅青少年方面嘅教育，等佢哋知道飲酒畢竟係會傷身嘅。但係我今日節目結束之前呢，我要同大家提醒嘅就係呢方面嘅方便，我哋會好好嘅享受。但係咧，記住一句大家都要記住嘅話就係、開車唔好飲酒，飲酒唔好開車。周一長談，我係黎拔佳 BC Lee， 今日同大家傾到呢處，下個星期再見 ，thank you。